All right, everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal astrology forecast. So this is for the full moon on Friday, June 9th, 2017. We normally feel the full moon a few days before, a few days after. So generally around this time period. We got a lot going on astrologically on Friday. We do have the full moon, and there are aspects with it. It's going to be conjuncting up to Saturn. It's going to be squaring Neptune, sextiling up to Jupiter. But along with that, we do have Jupiter going station direct, things moving forward with our opportunities, and Venus going into Aries while she sextiles Mars. So quite passionate, I think, for our relationships and maybe enjoying a bit of connection and sharing, and maybe feeling a bit attractive and just spicing things up a little bit with those people we enjoy in life and interacting with others. So there's a lot going on, but fundamentally this full moon is going to be in Ophiuchus. Yes, Ophiuchus. If you've never heard that before, do check the link down below because the signs are different. We're using the actual constellations here. But yeah, Ophiuchus. This is the serpent bear. The learning how to work with the quote-unquote lower aspects of the self, fundamentally the ego, fundamentally our fears. And so with Ophiuchus comes healing, comes transformation, comes rejuvenation, redemption, redeeming all of these qualities of ourself so we can become more holistic, healed, and transformed as a result. So when we have a full moon, it really illuminates things. And so here collectively, it is illuminating our fears, our wounds, our insecurities, our doubts, all of this deep psychological stuff that is now coming to the surface for us to be aware of, to accept, and to actually take action on. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart for the full moon. It will be at 10:06 Eastern time on Friday. Okay, so let's talk about this in the sense of Ophiuchus first, then we'll talk about the aspects that are taking place with the full moon, and then the other things we've got going on. So Ophiuchus, the serpent bear, this is an actual constellation that passes through the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun and the planets. And the full moon will be very, very close to this constellation. So this is the serpent bear. If you look at the constellation, it's a person holding a serpent. And this is very significant for many reasons because the serpent has been a very important symbol, very important, it's had a very important symbology throughout our history, especially if you look at the ancients and past civilizations and all this. The serpent is used quite a bit. And there's a recurring theme about what the serpent represents. It seems to represent all of the lower aspects of life or primal aspects of life. But when used in conjunction with humans, it tends to represent that aspect of ourselves, right? The quote-unquote lower aspects of ourselves, the primal, and fundamentally what I would simply just call the ego, right? The most fundamental survival-based aspect of ourselves. And so what's so important about Ophiuchus is the serpent bear is a representation of actually working with, showing a person working with these lower aspects of self, with the ego, with the fears, with the primal, with the instinctual, with the survival mind. So there's a reason for this because, of course, as human beings, we are spiritual beings, but at the same time, we are physical beings, and we are having this physical experience. So it's very important for us to learn how to work with all aspects of ourself, even the quote-unquote lower, the ego. And I would probably say that's the most important thing to learn how to work with, right? Because if we can become more aware of and work with the ego in healthy ways and balanced ways, and that's essentially what the spiritual process is about. We can't have spirituality without going through these physical steps of learning to work with, again, all aspects of self. So I see Ophiuchus as a very, very spiritual sign and associated with water, but some even associated with ether, which is about transformation. It is about change. It's about something more than just being aware of these these aspects of life, this ego. So it's a whole process with Ophiuchus, and the process of transformation I like to categorize in 3 steps, 3 A's, if you will. The first step is awareness. Okay, so what first happens is we do have to be aware of this ego, these fears, and in a personal sense, all of this psychological stuff that we've brushed under the rug before, that we've hidden away before, right? And now is coming to the forefront. So it's very important we bring conscious attention to it, or to them, or to the fears, in order for us to do this transformation process. Otherwise, you know, Ophiuchus and even Scorpio for that matter, this is then the subconscious working, the ego working. And the whole purpose here is to become more consciously aware of the ego so that we can learn how to work with it. So the next step is acceptance. And I think this is really what's symbolic about Ophiuchus is the person's not fighting the serpent. It's not fighting the dragon, right? The ego. It is wielding it. It has befriended it. And it has what I call accepted it. Okay, so the next step is to accept that we have whatever these fears are, whatever these things that are coming to the forefront during this full moon. And so with the acceptance process, it no longer has control over us. The ego, the fears no longer have control over us. Because what happens when we're totally accepting of our fears? We free ourselves up. We give ourselves freedom. We give ourselves space to then take the action we want to see. And that's the third step, is then taking action in the face of the wounds, in the face of the fears, from that place of awareness, from that place of acceptance, to then take conscious decision, conscious action towards the changes that we do want to see in our life. Healthy changes, transformative changes, things that benefit us, benefit others, and as a result, of course, will benefit the world at large. So we're all going through this collectively, but it's a very personal energy. And I would ask yourself some questions. What can you do during this full moon that might arise, that may have to do with wounds, right? The ego, fears. What can you do to be more aware at this time? What can you do to accept these fears, this ego? And then what can you do to take action in the face of all of that towards your true self, the part of yourself that is present, that is accepting, and is not pushing away those fears? Because as long as we're pushing away the fears, we're not aware, we're not accepting, we're not taking the action that we feel like we need to take or want to take, then the subconscious mind is at work, and then that's when we're reacting and, you know, it doesn't flow. So from a place of centeredness, right? From a place of being more aware, accepting, and then taking action. So very powerful stuff. It's always very powerful when we have a full moon in Ophiuchus, and that doesn't happen every year. Sometimes it's in Scorpio. All right, it's about 50-50 here, the very small constellations when you look at the ecliptic. So I think this is going to be a very powerful full moon. And I think it's going to be a very transformational full moon. And I think the transformations are happening anyways. But again, hopefully what we've uncovered here today does help you do this more consciously, much more healthfully. All right, so that's the Ophiuchus side of it. It's very much about healing too. So there could definitely be wounds coming up at this time with Ophiuchus. And again, it's for the awareness, the acceptance, and taking action in the face of those wounds to heal. Because it's through that process we heal. And that's what's happening collectively. We're all going to be healing all of this deeper stuff. All right, so let's talk about some of these aspects. The conjunction up to Saturn is very important. Saturn has been transiting through Ophiuchus for the past, it's been about a year and a half on and on. So this is about getting real. It's about getting real with Saturn. You know, Saturn is about looking at the real truth of the matter, to be honest with ourselves, right? To put in the work, to be aware of the work that it takes. Saturn is about patience. Saturn is about discipline, self-discipline, and also discipline with time. Understanding that things take time. This whole healing process takes time, but we're doing it collectively, and it is happening in steps. So what can you do to take some steps, another step in the right direction of healing? Because again, this has already been going on. And, you know, if you have been putting in the work here, great. This is another step to continue to do that. And we all have, to a degree, put in work here. So it's about continuing that process. The full moon is a status check time. It is a harvest time in the sense that we could be seeing, actually, here around Friday this week, the fruits of the transformation we've already done, of the healing we've already done. But then there's also all of this more quote unquote work to do, which is the halfway point of this full moon, the status check of seeing that this is the halfway part of the cycle, and we can continue now for the next 6 months to continue to do this healing that Saturn is really helping us do here. And the big thing with Saturn too is that Saturn is about our structures in life, the things we build in life. So are the things you're building in your life based on truth? Are they based on truth? Are they based on what you're truly about? You know, is it based on that awareness? Because, you know, if we're building things in our life that aren't true to us right now, chances are they won't last. Okay, that's Saturn and Ophiuchus. Only the things that are the truth to us, our truth, can be built at this time. It has to be based on that. And as a result, then it's very meaningful to us. Okay, the things we're building, very meaningful, based on what we're truly about, and based on a place that, again, is more centered, more aware, more accepting, both with ourselves and whatever those things might be. All right, so that's the conjunction with Saturn. Very important, and generally just emphasizing patience and discipline at this time. All right, maybe that has to do with the overall status check of your life. If you haven't yet done so, do check the weekly forecast where I talk about which house this is for your signs, and that'll give you a better idea about what this might be pertaining to more specifically. But patience, I think, is key with Saturn, and getting real with whatever it is with Saturn. All right, so there is a square up to Neptune with this. And Neptune is the planet of uncertainty. It's the planet of doubt, especially in a square. It can be challenging. So I think with this full moon, there is this challenging aspect of where can we have more faith? Where can we have more acceptance? Not here of the acceptance of what we're talking about with these aspects of ourself, but acceptance with life. Acceptance with where we're at right now and where life is right now. And it's that acceptance that really frees us up, gives us peace, gives us more tranquility in our life. And the square up to Neptune can help us do this, but it might be challenging. And the ego might be wanting to project into the future. And maybe it has to do with our ideals. We have Neptune in Aquarius. Okay, so being aware of any ideals. There's nothing wrong with having dreams, of course, but recognizing them as such, right? And if there is anything that you might feel like is a unhealthy form of escape for you at this time, are you escaping reality in any way? Is there anything you're doing that is escaping, is a form of escape? Do be aware of that. And with the square is about action. And I think with the square up to Neptune, what are some healthy actions you can take to have more acceptance in your life, more peace, more tranquility? To escape, but not escape, to have more, to be more present, to be here now, right? And as a result, truly accept how things are now. So things obviously like meditation, prayer, spiritual activities, even physical ones such as yoga, okay? Anything that helps you get into a present state, or sometimes going for a run. It can be active. Right? Sometimes going for a run or exercising puts us into a present state, helps us relax, right? So depending on your personality chart, your personality and your chart, what are some things that help you relax, help you find peace and tranquility in your life that are constructive, that are healthy, that are balanced? And I think it's great to challenge yourself with those things at this time. So speaking of self-improvement, though, Jupiter is going direct and is sextiling this full moon all at the same time. Here is the transit graph. So this is Friday here. Okay, here's the full moon, 10:06 Eastern time. And almost at the exact same time, this is totally random. They're not connected. Okay, it's synchronistic. Jupiter is going direct. Okay, so Jupiter's going direct. Not long after Venus sextiles Mars, we'll talk about that. But the significance of this is that if since February you felt like you've been rethinking some things, putting some things on the back burner that have to do with opportunities in your life, that have to do with where you're putting your energy and what's expanding, all of this starts to move forward now. Now, it does take time for Jupiter to gain some momentum, but there is a shift here, and there could be a shift of seeing now some possibilities, seeing some potentials, right? Moving some things forward that we do want to expand in our life. So it's in very good aspect to the full moon. And the fact that it's moving forward, I think, really symbolizes something. It likely symbolizes that there's a lot of, first of all, positive energy coming into this full moon, which can make it easier to do this healing and transformation, certainly. Probably because we have the wisdom and the philosophy and a bit of optimism about it, which is all Jupiter-related things. So with that, it's helping us. And so with the healing, I think at the same time, there is this greater optimism, this greater, bigger picture, this greater willingness to see the truth, but here from a top-down perspective, in the sense of probably our overall life or life itself, and move things forward based on that larger perspective. So it's a sextile. It's not a given here, but I think there's certainly an opportunity here to see the big picture, to move some things forward if you start to feel a bit inspired, a bit hopeful, and maybe even quite possibly a bit jovial about some things in your life that are improving. And that's what Virgo's been about. Jupiter and Virgo's been helping us improve things in our life, right? To find where things can be improved, both with ourself, self-growth, personal growth, self-improvement in the sense of diet, regimens, routines. This is a great, collectively for everyone, this is a great year for these things. And then even in our external environment, maybe with our work, our environment, anything that we feel like is within our immediate control that we can improve, refine, and make better is just excellent at this time. And I think that's part of this Jupiter going direct in Virgo. All right, so very powerful. This is all the full moon stuff we just talked about. But as I said, there's a lot going on. Venus is going into Aries here this part of the week. We'll probably start to feel this Thursday leading up to the full moon. But at the same time, she goes into Aries. She also sextiles Mars. So this is very much about the same thing. I think to a backdrop to this whole full moon, there is a lot of passion in our relationships. This is existing relationships and quite possibly new relationships forming at this time, depending on your personal chart. But when Venus goes into Aries and is in good aspect to Mars, it really fires things up a bit. Okay, I don't think it's going to be major, but it's starting to. I think there's more drive to connect. I think there's more self-awareness, more of a clear sense of what we want in our relationships, what we enjoy in our relationships, probably feeling more expressive in them, more attractive in them. And this is, again, all relationships, not just romantic ones, but just in general, interacting with others. All right, so spicing things up, enjoying our relationships, taking action. Perhaps there could be a lot of drive, a lot of directness, again, expressing ourselves and expressing ourselves in direct ways with Mars and Gemini. In fact, there is a lot of, I think, motivation to communicate at this time. Communication can be direct, and we can enjoy that actually with this sextile, along with the passion, along with a bit more active energy too. You may even notice that your relationships are just getting more active, whatever that means for you personally. All right, so that is the full moon. As I said, there's a lot going on. The way I would simply sum this up is that this is a status check week. It's a status check. It has to do with wounds, fears, inhibitions that we're becoming more aware of. And we're taking the slow and steady steps towards healing with Saturn. We're starting to integrate healthier ways, hopefully, of accepting where we are in life and having more faith and trust along the life journey. Things are moving forward with opportunities. I think we're seeing that. There's certainly this ability to do that at this time. All right, Venus going into Aries, there's a bit of spice in our relationships, a bit more of those stronger personal needs, self-expression, directness, fire in them. Sextiling Mars, maybe about the communication, learning, things like that. And let's not forget too, this whole cycle is a very grounded cycle. Okay, this has been the whole cycle of Taurus. We still have the Sun in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus. Again, the signs are different. If you're new to the channel, check the link down below. But this is the foundation to it, I feel like. Because without Earth, without being grounded, without connecting to the slow and steady, resourceful aspects of life, we can't do healing. We can't do transformation. That's why, shamanic teachings are always grounded in Earth. And so this whole cycle is fundamentally about Earth. And I think connecting there, whether it's quite literally, whether it's through enjoying the simple pleasures of life, connecting to your inner resources, the grounded, slow, and steady aspects of yourself, grounding yourself, I think that is the catalyst. I think that's what's keeping everything grounded throughout this, what is very transformational full moon. All right. So I hope you guys have a fantastic full moon. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and I will see you all next time.